A trail of destruction following Hurricane Laura's arrival along the Texas-Louisiana border. The storm left behind flooded roads and shredded houses and buildings. At one point, more than 800,000 people were reported to be without power in the region. Good afternoon, I'm Deborah Knapp.
And I'm Aaron Wright. We're going to take you to the damage live, but first, here's what you need to know about this storm. 4 people were killed as Laura moved through southwest Louisiana. All are believed to have died from falling trees. The youngest was a 14-year-old girl.
Second, Governor Greg Abbott says there are no people unaccounted for in Texas so far. Despite that, rescue and recovery crews are searching for anyone who may be in need of help.
Lastly, Laura is now a tropical storm and moving inland, making the trek to the east coast. Although the storm is weakening, authorities caution it could still be a threat.
While much of southeast Texas was spared from the brunt of the storm, that did not include Orange County. Governor Abbott says he saw significant damage there. Eyewitness News reporter Jaleesa Irizarry is live from Orange now with more. Jaleesa?
Yeah, we're only about 25 minutes away from Beaumont, but boy, did this area really get to see what Hurricane Laura could do. This was a storage unit less than 24 hours ago, but as those hurricane gust winds really started to roll through, the walls and the roof eventually flew off and landed just a few yards away over there. That debris struck so hard, it staked to the ground. They're having a hard time getting it out. But what was left to be exposed to the hurricane, to all that rain, was one man's childhood memories.
My heart dropped. Just, everything you've had as a kid, and it's everywhere now, and, you lost it. All you have is memories.
Now, Beeson says he is grateful to be alive and still have those childhood memories, but as he continues to pick up those pieces, he's one of 38,000 people in this county still without power. We're live in Orange County. Jaleesa Irizarry, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.
Jaleesa, thank you. Governor Greg Abbott surveyed damage in southeast Texas this morning. The governor took a tour by helicopter and met with area leaders. After surveying the region, he held a news conference to talk about recovery. The governor says he is making resources available to those who were affected by the storm. But overall, it seems he is breathing a small sigh of relief.
Everyone pretty much had the same phrase, and that is, we dodged a bullet. It could have been far worse. We were anticipating, and it was prognosticated, that there would be a storm surge that could very easily exceed 10 feet. I was told earlier that the storm surge was about 3 feet, and that 7-foot differential means all the difference. We would not be gathering here right now.
Nearly 8,500 people were given shelter provided by the state during the storm. The governor says those shelters would remain as long as people needed them.